Okay, next topic related to .1x is .1x component. So basically there are three components which make .1x to process. Three important things which come together so .1x will work. One of them is supplicant. Either we call them client, either we call them endpoint, either we call them end device, either we call them host, either workstation, PC, anything which connected to the printer, fax machine. All these are supplicant. So basically supplicant is a user or device that want to access your wireless and wire network. We call them supplicant. Either end device or user require authentication is called supplicant. So in my topology, PC1 and tablet is my end device, my supplicant, which want to access the resources and they want to authenticate. It means supplicant is also known client or host which .1x port authentication. And yes, these guys want, there is .1x enable and they want to authenticate to access the resources, port based authentication. And I can say that a supplicant is a workstation that connected through network access switch. So yes, this is my network access switch and these PC are connected to this switch. So these PCs are called supplicant. Either supplicant is a workstation request to access computer resources. Yes, these PC and this tablet want to access the resources, but they need to authenticate through .1x. So supplicant can be a workstation or PC client where .1x client software is installed. So yes, in my PC, .1x is installed. That's the wire auto config. And if I go to my network device, so authentication is enabled, .1x is enabled here, and I'm using the default. You can use any connect as well. So this PC is called, this workstation is called .1x supplicant because .1x software is running in this PC. So I can say that supplicant can be an end device, endpoint, printer, fax machine, PC, voice over IP phone. And sometimes we call supplicant if a device is running supplicant software, means .1x software. So yes, this PC is running .1x software. So this software is also called supplicant. So that endpoint which running .1x software is also called supplicant. Sometimes we call them supplicant that as well. And by default, all Windows operating system has own native supplicant. That's what I'm using. I push them from Active Directory that all device has to use this native default supplicant .1x. So this is called supplicant. Now coming to authentication server. Before going to discuss authentication server, let's discuss authenticator. Second thing, authenticator means a device between supplicant and authentication server. So who the hell is that one? This switch is called authenticator. Either if it is a Wi-Fi, then the wireless LAN controller, and access point is called authenticator because this device play a role between ISE and this PC, between these two. PC send EAPOL packet to switch change them to radius, and then they check with ISE. So he is the person, authenticator, to authenticate the end devices. So it means the client, the user, or supplicant normally directly connected to authenticator. Yes. In my case, my PC tablet is connected directly to my authenticator switch or access point in the case of Wi-Fi. So Example is switch wireless access point provide authenticator services to client or end device, endpoint, workstation, PC, printer, fax machine, voice or IP phone. So it means authenticator is a device acting like a gatekeeper. This device will never give access to these devices until it's approved from ISE. So he is like a gatekeeper, like a security guard. They say, okay, let me check. If he allowed you, I will allow you. This authenticator work. Normally, authenticator is a typically Cisco layer 2 and layer 3 switch, either wireless LAN controller or access point. So this is called authenticator. So now we know two things. In the process of .1x, we need three things, three component: endpoint, authenticator, and now we are coming to the main device, which is ISE. So that is called authentication server. This was authenticator and this is authentication. So authentication server is a device that process authentication such as radius. They will process the radius packet. It means he is the authority to authenticate supplicant, client or endpoint. It means the entity that validate the identity of supplicant and notify the authenticator. He is the person to authenticate these devices and notify the switch, take this action and allowed. So that thing is called authentication server. Because authentication server notify authenticator to allow or deny a client request. So when this client send a request, switch will forward to ISE. ISE is called authentication server, and this authentication server will notify authenticator, and authenticator will notify this PC. So radius server such as ACS can provide authentication services, either Cisco or ISE. ACS is not anymore. So these are the three main components for .1x. So if I can show you from image, so endpoint, we call them endpoint, and device, supplicant, workstation, printer, fax machine, voice or IP phone, whatever it can be, anything. Then it send request to authenticator. Authenticator is called switch. It also called network access server. Sometimes we call them network access device. Sometimes we call them NAS. Sometimes we call them NAT. Then switch forward the packet to authentication server. It is a Cisco ISE. It can be Cisco ACS. Sometimes we call them radius server. Sometimes we call them TechX server. Then it will check the identity with Active Directory if you are using external identity. So that is called identity source, either Active Directory, either identity store, identity source, either authentication domain. To check the detail, ISE will take a action, will forward to switch, switch will forward to endpoint that yes, you are allowed or denied. So switch will do nothing until ISE tell them to do. So this is called authenticator, this is called authentication, and this is called endpoint. So basically we have three components. So the whole framework of .1x work in three roles, which is supplicant, authentication server, and authenticator. Got it? So that's it. This was .1x component.